Hey, how are you this Friday afternoon? Today's episode is math, and we're going to talk about trading cards like baseball cards or Pokémon cards. While it would be fun to do an episode on the probability or prediction of cards, I want to make it a little more relevant to some of the recent headlines. There have been so many fiscal changes lately, think tariffs, that require an understanding of the fundamentals like the national debt and bond market. So let's use trading cards as a way to get to know the basics. Here we go.
You're watching iheartSTEM. Today we'll tackle one STEM topic I learned from experts. Just 4 key questions with each answer under 1 minute or less.
To start a trading card collection, you need to pay for the cards. Maybe you don't have a job or the card you want is too expensive, so you don't have the money to pay for a card. This is similar to how the U.S. debt started back during the Revolutionary War. The U.S. was going to war with Britain because of the high taxes Britain was charging and needed money to pay for war supplies. It didn't have a very big income and didn't have the right to charge taxes yet, so decided to borrow in order to fund the war. If you were going to borrow money to get trading cards, you would probably go to someone who you would consider an ally or a friend, and that's what the U.S. did with France. France was open to lending to the U.S. for many reasons, but primarily because it wanted to make Britain weaker. Regardless of the reason your friends or family lend you money, when people or countries are lending something, they do it under the assumption that you will pay them back with interest, so that they get something having taken the risk to loan you money. Meaning, if your friend or France loans you $1 now, then you will pay back not just the dollar, but maybe $1.05 or $1 plus a ship, or maybe $1 plus a lesser valued card. You are borrowing money to pay for the card because you believe the value will go up, similarly to how the U.S. borrowed because it believed it had the ability to make money later. And the cost of freedom is priceless. Sticking with our example, let's say you borrowed money to get 1 or 2 cards and agreed to pay back the value plus interest in a few months. Pretend your bet in the cards didn't pay off. The player you bought had a very public scandal and has fallen in popularity. If you sell the card now, you will lose money and you won't have enough to pay back your friend for the card and interest, which you agreed was $20 in addition to what he loaned you. In addition, 2 months ago, you asked another friend to pre-order you a very hard to get set of cards, so now you're locked into this spending that's about to come due. You need to come up with some money, so you go to your sister and you ask her to lend you the money. You agree to pay her the same interest, that's what you need to pay your friend, but because you are borrowing enough interest to pay him back for the cards and interest and what you will need for the pre-ordered set, you need to borrow a lot more from her. This is like how the U.S. debt grows. Even as the U.S. started to pay back some of its debt from the Revolutionary War, it didn't have enough money, so started to borrow more money from Dutch bankers and others, and the borrowing continued, and still happens today. The U.S. debt is obviously a little more complicated than trading cards because there's continuous spending need for retirement and health benefits. But similar to your trading card situation, generating new income if you can't cut spending is the only way to lessen the problem. So as a reminder, at this point, you own a few trading cards and a cool set and have borrowed money from your sister who has not given you a deadline on when to pay her back. The set you pre-ordered turns out to be the right bet, so you sell it, make a couple other good buys and sells, and get a reputation as a serious trader. People want to get in on your thinking. You still don't have a ton of cash, so you decide to offer a loan program where people can buy into your business. You will borrow money from them and pay them back at a specified time and amount. Given some people don't want to take the risk with buying and selling themselves, this is a more stable investment where they can make some money. You need to determine what interest rate you will pay back to the people who loan you money. A balance of getting people to invest, but also at a rate they can trust you can pay. You do some research, you calculate the average return people make on cards when they manage their own cards, and you set your initial interest rate lower than this average. Remember, you want to make money doing this, so you need to set the rate you are willing to pay lower than what you think you will make yourself, then you get to keep the difference as profit. In essence, this is the bond market. The government borrows money and agrees to pay back at a fixed time and amount, and in turn has money to spend or pay back past bonds. With interest rates, though, in your case and the bond market, they change over time based on a host of other factors. Roll point 4. In the case of the bond market and your trading card lending business, the interest rate is important because it impacts what you'll make and also what you have to pay, which impacts your I.O.U.s. For example, if you owe $50 now and don't have it, so have to borrow $50 plus the current rate of 2%, you're increasing your debt to pay off what you owe. So what determines how this rate will fluctuate? This is where it gets complicated. Using our analogy, the interest rate could be influenced by if people see that you're making a lot of loans and get nervous about lending to you, or if they find other investments outside of cards and see better returns. It could even be too many trading cards of one type flooding the market and people not wanting to buy, so the business slows down. There's a fine balance between having an interest rate that doesn't increase your cost, but is also attractive to investors. But the last thing you want to do is create doubt in your ability to pay back your I.O.U.s, which is similar to what Trump's tariff actions did in April. Tariffs are debated as to whether they help or hurt the economy, so Trump's actions in April shocked investors. Normally, when the market is unstable, people invest in government bonds because they are seen as stable, but here people were questioning the government, so they sold their bonds, which made interest rates go up because people didn't want them, making it more expensive for the government to borrow, which was not the desired effect, and hence why several of these tariffs were quickly changed days later. You probably aren't going to put tariffs on your trading cards, but you can see how the various levers that the government can use can influence so many different aspects of the economy. If you like the analogy, don't forget to like the episode, and we'll do a part 2 down the road looking at more concepts using trading cards. Have a great day.